For my research and design project, I chose the topic Teaching Controversial Topics in Social Studies. As a new teacher, I'm excited to be in the classroom teaching a subject that I love. However, one of my main concerns is teaching controversial topics. Now, this concern is not new to the field, it's one every social study teacher has to learn how to handle. A teacher's goal is never to put students at risk or have them be offended. So, how do you teach these controversial topics, these tough topics in the classroom without offending students? First, we have to understand what's the issue. Now, you're probably thinking, what is a controversial topic? Well, within social studies, some of the common ones are slavery, immigration, women's rights, Middle East conflicts, and the list goes on and on. Now, we all know all the events in history are not happy and peaceful. People disagree. Some events are tough and full of conflict. These events can lead teachers being shy when it comes to teaching them because these events are tricky. They bring out emotions from teachers and students. So, first, let's look at what is a controversial topic. It is one that's marked by opposing views, it's marked by people sharing different thoughts around one event. In his article, Controversial Issues The Teacher's Role, Alan Lockwood says there are two types of issues: empirical and issues associated with values. Empirical issues are ones that arise from within the context of the discipline. They are created on experience and observing others. But what these are not created from is logic. Now, issues associated with values are ones that come from analyzing and critiquing the rights or wrongs of public policies or moral or ethical values or actions. As you can see, I provide some examples for both of those types of issues. So, to summarize, a controversial topic has a common theme. They're all connected with human rights and well being of human life in some way or another. They're sensitive subjects that require people to choose sides and justify why they're choosing that side. They can involve events that are social events, political events, economic, or military events. So you're probably asking yourself, why, with all these negatives to controversial topics, why should I teach it? Well, these topics really can't be overlooked and not taught in a social studies classroom. When a topic is not taught, teachers will be erasing parts of history. They could also be offending students by not teaching certain topics. For example, if a topic meant a lot to a student and it was left out, but is a valuable part of history, the student could become offended as well. There are also benefits for students from teaching controversial topics. The topics teaches students how to think critically, how to be effective citizens, and interpersonal skills. All three of these are important lessons students need to learn to become effective adults. Now, many teachers, knowing these benefits, still stray away from the controversial topics. Why do they do that? In their article, the four authors of Controversial Issues to Teach or Not Teach, that is a question, bring about four approaches to why teachers do and do not teach controversial issues. The first one is denial. Some teachers just deny an event is controversial. Instead of taking sides, they just state the facts. The second one is privilege. Sometimes teachers can teach towards a particular perspective. This could be their own, the one they are more comfortable with studying. It could be the general perspective. It's just teaching more towards one idea. Avoidance is the third topic. It is a teacher completely avoids the topic and erases it from history, kind of not seen, not heard, that kind of issue. The last one is what teachers should use, the approach, and it is balance. When you're teaching controversial topics, it is important to create a balance and a focus in the classroom. All your lessons and activities should include different perspectives and not favor one perspective over another. And we'll get more into this in our next page on the solutions. I propose 3 solutions for teachers to effectively teach and handle controversial topics. First one, being accurately and efficiently prepared for the lesson. The second is allow for discussion. And third, teachers should create and promote a safe and respectful learning community in the classroom. So, looking at solution 1, teachers should be fully prepared for the topic. They should research different sources and be able to provide and use different sources in their lessons, such as videos, text, primary sources, secondary sources, all these different types of resources to help their lesson. In addition, these topics should be used and given to students as well. Teachers should have a deep level of knowledge on the topic and should maintain focus and balance when teaching. Going back to what I said earlier about balance, teachers need to focus on the topic, not let emotions or anything stray away from the issue, but focus and have a balance when teaching tough topics. And again, consider multiple perspectives. David Walbert says in his article, Teaching Controversial Topics, instead of asking what students think about an issue, ask them how different types of people might respond to that issue. Ask why the people you're studying said or did certain things, and how other people might have responded. Putting students in the time period helps as well, giving them research and information on that. The second solution is allow for discussion. Having a discussion in the classroom helps students think critically, as well as form their own views and opinions and express them in a civil way. First, teachers need to establish respect and rules for open and civil discussion in the classroom. These rules should become set with the input from students. Ask them how they would or would not like their peers to respond to their opinions and ideas. Second, teachers should encourage participation and attentive listening from all students. Students should not be talking over each other. They should be listening and participating in the discussions. Teachers should also understand their role in the discussion. They don't want to be the only one talking the whole time because that is not a discussion. In addition, teachers should not let their emotions control or guide the discussion as well. And last, allow for a debrief. This should happen from the teacher and students. Ask students what went well, what didn't go so well, things like that. It is also suggested to start out with primary and secondary sources for discussion. Let quotes, historical figures guide your students and help them think about what they want to say. Lastly, solution 3 lets teachers create and promote a safe and respectful learning community in the classroom. When a student is respected and they feel safe to give their opinions, they will participate in the discussion. So, how you can create this learning community in the classroom is by doing community building events, such as 1-minute autobiographies, have students share something fun about them, or complete team building games. These activities can be done in class or on field trips. Now, teachers should also find the right balance between being emotionally open and authentic without sacrificing the teacher-student roles. Teachers don't want to be that friend to a point for students to come to. There's that fine line that teachers and students have to balance. Lastly, bring community leaders in for class discussions. Maybe bring a historian or someone who has another viewpoint on the topic and to share to students. Lastly, I provide a topic example. My topic comes from slavery. This is probably one of the toughest topics to teach because it provokes a lot of emotions from both teachers and students. So let's look at reasons why teachers would not teach slavery. First, denial. They can deny it ever existed, it wasn't bad as it's being portrayed, or debate whether or not it was the main cause of the Civil War. Privilege. They can use privilege in the same way as denial. Think about a teacher's background and their viewpoints that could come into play. Some parents and students might ask, oh, slavery didn't affect them, so what? They aren't bothering to teach it. Think about some of the unspoken privileges and everyone has: race, gender, economic class, religion, things like that. Next, avoidance. Sometimes a teacher avoids the topic because it is tough to teach. But when they do, they are avoiding the opportunity to teach students about important historical events. And instead, they're creating a selective curriculum, one that is based on their viewpoints about what topics they think students should know, instead of topics the curriculum says students should know about. Then lastly, balance. Balance is one, again, every teacher wants to achieve. They need to teach all the facts and aspects of slavery, the Civil War, and history related to that time period. Consider multiple perspectives. This gets us into the three solutions. Teachers should prepare the proper context and look within themselves. They should acknowledge any of those personal biases or privileges that might affect their teaching. Next, have that balance. Tell the whole story and be prepared to do so. Be prepared to have the students ask and answer the hard questions. By doing so, this develops a sense of trust between you and your students, but also trust between student and student. Now, you can also handle slavery in the classroom by using primary sources and oral histories, underscoring enslaved people's contributions, using photography and text, organizing field trips to historic sites, using multiple perspective stories, or inviting community leaders to your class to discuss the topic. Now, these solutions above and these ideas can be altered to fit any controversial issue, not just slavery. When a teacher teaches a controversial issue in their social study classroom, it gives the students to learn the necessary historical content needed to become effective and prepared citizens to help change the world.